It's Tehatchee Pod time. Maya Acosta, joined by Greg Garrett and Key Budge today. How are you guys?
Doing good, Maya.
Doing well.
Awesome. And we are joined by two special guests. We have Warden Brian Cates and PIO Thomas Harrison with CCI here on the podcast to tell us all things that are happening out at the corrections facility. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you in.
The CCI is the largest employer here in the city, isn't it? Aren't you guys have more employees than anyone else in the city of Tehachapi?
So the school district has quite a few, and CCI. So between the two, so little known fact, CCI is actually within the city of Tehachapi limits. So we annexed CCI many years ago. So you're kind of a city within a city, actually.
Yes, we are.
Not kind of. You are, right? You have wastewater, you have fresh water, you have doctors, you have dentists, you have administrators, you have fire department, you have everything that the city of Tehachapi has. So
everything. All the same agencies. Mm-hmm. They all work within the walls of the prison.
Right. And so several prisons within the prison? How does that work? I know there's been some changes recently, but what's the current makeup of CCI?
So there have been some recent changes. Tehachapi had deactivated a couple of yards recently and repurposed one of our facilities. So our level 1 and 2 yards had been deactivated a couple of years back. I think we spoke about that last time I was on.
Right.
And we were left with two level 4 yards and a level 3 yard. Mm-hmm. We have converted our level 3 yard to a level 2 yard, and one of our level 4 yards is now a level 3 yard. The level 4 business is not as good as it used to be, so we converted to a more sustainable model for the institution and for the state of California. And we believe that the level 2 and level 3 business is a little better place for us to be as far as sustainability.
So when you say level 1, 2, 3, 4, what does that mean? In my mind, in the layman's mind, minimum, maximum, medium, what does that translate into?
So your level 1 facilities are typically your low custody. So they go 1 to
like
4.
Minimum.
Low being 1 and 4 being not a maximum custody, but definitely a higher. Mm-hmm. The highest custody that we have that's in the general population.
Right.
And then 2 and 3 are like a medium area in between.
Right. And so we just kind of jumped into that particular piece because this topic is very interesting, I think, for the public to know what's going on when we talk about public safety, right? You're a component of the public safety within the state of California. But let's talk maybe about the facilities, the number of people, the contribution to the local economy in and around Tehachapi, Kern County. So let's kind of start with that.
Sure. So with and I'll talk a little bit about the conversion because I think that's going to play into that. The conversion of our level 3 yard to a level 2, although we had a robust level 3 yard, we still do. Mm-hmm. Converting and bringing a level 2 in, replacing the level 4 population brings in a higher population for your census. Mm-hmm. And also that population tends to be more community oriented as they are more likely to be coming out in the community sooner than some of our level 4 population. They like to do community events, donate to community charities via food sales and various types of charity work that they do, and they are interested in doing that. Mm-hmm. So that helps some of the local groups around here, around Tehachapi specifically, and they always want to be part of this community, Tehachapi specifically.
We do see that and feel it. So thank you for that, and thank you for everybody that's engaged with that. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's a pleasure to assist, mm-hmm. and the men on the facilities really do like it.
Because you are an integral part of the community. You guys are engaged. You attend the local economic development council meetings and chamber meetings from time to time, different things. So we really appreciate the employees and the incarcerated individuals that are engaged in these sorts of things.
Absolutely. We like to be engaged in the community. We want Tehachapi to be, a big part of the community. Mm-hmm. That prison's been here since the 30s.
A lot of history.
Very, very long time.
Maybe we can get into that a little bit later, yeah.
We don't want to lose our ties to the community mm-hmm. in Tehachapi. Tehachapi is such a great community to work in and to live in and even just to be here. Right. We like to stay as involved as we can. We're hoping the lower custody population we're bringing in, we can somehow get them out into the community to do work with the community, whether it's assisting with murals or city projects or something like that down the road.
I know in the past we used to have that. Things changed, but maybe we can talk about getting something going again. That'd be great.
There's been some conversation about potentially with the murals, with doing some kind of the pre-prep work before the artists that are consigned to do the work, and that the inmates may be able to do some of the prep work. So I've talked with Jeanette Power about that, and that's been part of their discussion and planning for some future murals.
Yeah, Jeanette Power is our mayor pro tem, and she's very engaged with the murals and art. And I think if we gave her your phone number, she might ring you up.
We have some artists. Facility C has some artists.
You do, actually.
Yeah, a good chunk of our program offices has art on it, and it's interchanges with the seasons, and they had some pumpkin stuff for Halloween and everything like that.
And I remember there was
really
a
cool
French artist that came with a mural.
JR.
Several, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, he
so.
actually
That was
just
a big
visited.
deal.
He just visited a couple weeks back to show the incarcerated individuals who were part of that documentary that he did at Tehachapi. He essentially had a makeshift movie theater set up for them in the facility gym, and some of those individuals who participated, who are now paroled or off of parole, were allowed back in to kind of see their once peers and kind of shared their story about what it was like on the outside, how that movie has impacted them. I know there was one individual who actually rekindled a relationship with somebody from elementary school, and now they're a thing. they're in a relationship together. So, cool stories like that. And JR is, an awesome guy, and they came in on our facility B and C to show that movie, and it was really great. It was a really good experience.
Is the mural still up?
Yeah, so it is. It is still up, and we spoke about him coming back and doing something like that again, just because through time and the weather and everything, it doesn't look as nice as it used to.
Yeah, Tehachapi can be brutal. We see that downtown with our murals. Yeah, they have to be maintained.
Right. So we spoke to him, and we're in contact about him coming back out and doing something cool like that again, because it was a really good response from both staff and the incarcerated.
Right, and that's kind of part of people used to say prisons, but now it's rehabilitation, right? And I'm all about that, right? Because we can't just lock people up and throw away the key.
100%.
Right? We want them to get integrated back into society and become a productive part of society. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that and the different programs, right? Because there's education, there's all kinds of things happening at the institution that are assisting the incarcerated men, because it used to be women's prison, but now it's men only, and getting them back into the public to be, productive again.
Sure.
Absolutely. The tides have kind of changed on paroling and getting out of prison for many of the population through assembly bills and things like that. And because of that, we've had to really, the department's always been focused on rehabilitation, but we've had to really center and focus at a really institutional level, on a personal level, to try to get these men ready for reintegration into society and make sure that they're as ready as they can be. We're not always going to hit the mark perfectly, but we try to get them as close as we can. And to do that, we offer education all the way through college. We offer vocational programs, industry programs to teach them work skills, various and multiple self-help programs and drug interdiction programs and alcohol programs, things that they're going to need to be successful out on the street.
Maybe programs or educational opportunities that they never did receive as a young man. I'm referring, quite frankly, to the public school system, right? The wood shop and auto shop and weld shop. Those types of classes don't really exist like they used to when I was in school. And there's all kinds of people doing all kinds of jobs, and everybody needs to be pulling on the rope in the same direction. Everybody is not going to go get a 4-year degree.
Right. And some of these men will. Many have 2-year degrees now, but they also need some tangible work experience and different trade experience that they receive within the prison in various fields that they're interested in. Kind of a nice thing is if they're not sure what that is, they get to try some out. And if that doesn't work for them, they can go to another field and figure out what they actually like to do.
Right. So you have some, let's say, quality time with them. So you don't make the rules. The courts say you've got to do this, right? You have to serve so many years, and then you have that allotted time to spend with that gentleman to hopefully rehabilitate and get him back into society, whether it's, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it happens to be.
Absolutely. We have a finite amount of time to get these men on on the best track we can get them.
Kind of back on their feet, really.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Try
That's
to
the
get
goal.
them. First is to get them interested, and then once we get to that point, we can move them into the different programs.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them get there, but many of them do, and many of them take advantage of the programs that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the department's, I think, in a very unique position right now, and it's implementing something that they call the California model, right, which is essentially a philosophy for our line staff to essentially use the time that they have with these incarcerated individuals as more of a rehabilitative experience rather than just providing safety and security to the institution. So becoming that mentor for somebody who didn't have that growing up and might have resulted in them being put behind bars in the first place, right? So with the intention to lower recidivism rate, California really wants to hone in on the rehabilitative aspect, normalizing what prison looks like to kind of match what the outside looks like to better prepare them for reintegration. So pretty unique.
And another part of that, an important part of that is, as we work a little more closely with the incarcerated population and the staff together to, lower the tensions that exist in facilities where maybe folks have different ideas about where they want to be when they arrive, and kind of when people are going in the same direction, we're hoping to lower the tensions, lower the stress levels within the institution for our staff.
Right. So you don't want to
work there
repeat
for
what's happening on the city streets, right? With different
Right.
cultures and societies. You want to integrate so that everybody is here for the same reason. Like, let's get back on our feet.
Right. Try to create a better environment, because
okay.
the entire idea for the staff and for the population is to improve the person that's in prison when they go out to society, to make strides in that direction.
Well, you have the captive audience, and you can kind of help to mold or remold, if you will. We were talking earlier about Mayor Pro Tem Jeanette Power with murals and art and different things, but Mayor Joan Pogacord actually comes out and provides, spiritual and religious type, guidance. There are some classes that she participates in and leads. So, our city council is very involved with, the productivity and the positive nature of what's going on. So, the city cares a lot about what's going on. In addition to all of the other economic benefits, we care as human beings what's happening at CCI.
Yeah, we're trying to make the right person when they're coming back out if they needed some help. We had some really cool opportunities that we allowed them and our staff a couple months ago that are in our facility, CR Level 2 yard. The Captain Mark Lopez set up a town hall where incarcerated individuals and officers got to sit down and have a set of predetermined questions asked amongst each other, and they got about 5 minutes to answer each. And it just kind of gave insight on what it's like to be incarcerated and what it's like to be a correctional officer, because it's a little taboo for both sides. And I felt like that was a really cool experience. And from both sides, they really had a positive impact and said, wow, well, going into this thing, we didn't really know what to expect, but coming out of it, we learned a lot about each other and, the day-to-day living and seeing these guys. We have a whole new outlook on what they're experiencing here and can kind of better form so that everybody gets along just fine.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
But,
really
communication is key. That's why we're here.
Hey,
Right?
Absolutely.
Maya, key. I mean, we're communicating, right, with not each other, but also with the public, right? And when you're communicating a CO to an incarcerated individual, just getting on each other's level for a minute and trying to understand what's the background, what's happening, why am I here?
Yeah.
Why are you here? Why am I here?
Sure.
But that town hall, it's so unique.
it sure is.
To hear
Yeah,
that.
it's unheard of.
Is that maybe one of the first within the system, or has that been tested?
To my knowledge, I think that was one of the first.
What a great idea! I'm just that's soaking into me. That's really special.
It was really well thought out. The questions were thought provoking. They were questions that kind of exemplify, how does this environment that these men live in and we work in affect the folks in our lives that don't experience this environment. And so it was common ground that people could speak to each other about something that they both experienced.
Right, and the inmates' families, back home, wherever that happens to be.
Absolutely.
It ripple effects throughout.
Sure.
And you want it to be positive if you can, that's for sure.
It was a very positive experience for both the staff and the incarcerated.
Very, very interesting.
So we're always trying to come up with new ideas to gain interest and get people interested in what's going on in the prison, both the staff, the incarcerated, and the public as much as possible.
Well, silence is kind of like a cancer. If you don't communicate and you stay silent, it is kind of like a cancer, right? With all due respect to cancer patients. But literally, if you don't communicate, that's a problem. It festers.
Oh, absolutely. People, if you don't tell people what's going on, they'll come to their own conclusions,
That's
which
right.
may have
Filling in the blanks.
bearing in what's actually happening.
Filling in the blanks is dangerous.
Yes.
So I was thinking, what was the goal? It sounds like when you get both sides to understand that, obvious probably is one, but were there any other goals? I mean, as we said, CCI is it's city within the city of Tehachapi. A town hall is something that does take place in cities, and it's like that's a brilliant idea to bring it.
Yep.
Were there any other goals that a part of this mission on the onset that you guys were hoping to achieve?
Yeah, I think just breaking those taboos was a huge stride in towards what the department's looking like, and the philosophy that surrounds it as of this moment. Having post and pre-interviews with these individuals who participated in it, they like I said, they gained a new aspect on what the day-to-day living situation might be for an incarcerated person, or what prep work needs to happen prior to an officer reporting to their housing unit that day. And then, being able to have that in the back of your head when you're communicating with these individuals or handling situations or quelling incidences, I think goes a long way for both sides.
When you're talking to these individuals, I would venture to guess in the beginning, they don't want to really open up,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And so you're earning trust as they open
That is
up,
key.
and you want to make sure that you keep and retain and build on that trust. It's kind of like at the city of Tehachapi, we have a charrette, right? Mm-hmm. We have these public meetings. I remember several years ago, we updated our general plan. Who do we want to be when we grow up, right? And so we had these community charrettes, and people would come and they would share different ideas and thoughts about this would be good over here, not so good over here, and this and that. I'm thinking about the inmates and CDC, and of course there are lots of rules that are associated with your business, but the inmates may have some positive input on how things could be better so that my time here is more productive, so that when I do get released, I can be that guy that we all want me to be.
Sure.
And then they regularly have some input with those. Some are better than others, but we get some good ideas from them. And the forum that the Captain Lopez created, where like you said before, we live and work in an area where we have people who follow the rules and people who need to follow the rules, and people who are giving instruction, people who are receiving instruction. So they all have bad days and good days, and talking across the table about the common things in their lives and in the world, which is largely some of the prison stuff, but there's other things as well, helps them understand, if things aren't going the way you want, maybe, with this person, they're not going the way they want today either. And let's look at a different way to solve it. And I think it goes a long way towards bringing down some tensions, bringing down some stresses, and a little more understanding as to where we're going and where they may need to be in the future.
Right. Well, listening is an art, and sometimes you can't act on it right away, but you can file it away, and in the future, maybe you kind of put a couple things together and say, I think we could do this or do that to make things better. So
sure, we've seen a lot more collaboration with the staff and the population with regard to many aspects of how the facility is going to run. I've seen it on multiple occasions. They're sitting on a bench just kind of working out where we're going to put this, or how this program we think it should look, and they largely shape it. We have facilitators and such, but the staff and the incarcerated population, they're the ones that are literally doing it every day. So when they work together, it's almost always a better result.
Well, we talk about staff and incarcerated. Let's talk about how many staff members do you have? I mean, we talk about wastewater, fresh water, COs, doctors, dentists, administrators, all that. What's the total employment number, roughly?
Roughly 800 and change. I think 820, 850, somewhere around there.
And it's around the clock operations, right? Just like the city of
24/7,
Tehachapi, right? It doesn't stop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The custody operations never stop. The plant operations, the wastewater and things like that never stop. sometimes people are out and in, but if something goes wrong, they're coming in to fix it. Sometimes we have to work with the city. Sometimes we have to work with Edison. We work with whoever we have to keep the city running.
Yeah, sometimes there's snow and the roads need to stay up with Caltrans. I mean, there's lots of different agencies and employees and people working together to keep it going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. We had about 110 new officers within the last year come through the academy and are still at CCI. So that's really great. We had about 45 new non-custody, meaning whether it's through personnel, records, whatever, or, what have you, non-custody, non-sworn people. So yeah, come work for us. We're going to be over at the Wind Festival too on the 26th of April.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we'll have a little booth set up over there and come talk to us.
Great careers.
Ask a bunch of questions.
I know lots of people that have really had really great careers at CCI and CDC.
Like I say, you're back in recruitment mode. So
we are, yes.
Okay.
Always. We're always looking for good people.
Yeah, come on
Don't
down.
steal any of ours. I've surrounded myself with some pretty great people. So
Yes,
you guys, this is my end. Keep your ears closed.
We have incentives. Come on down. Yeah, we're consistently doing even virtual career fairs, which is new to me as the public information officer. Now I'm actually head of the recruitment team. Nobody told me that I was going to be. Thanks for that. But I'm loving it.
Other duties as assigned.
Yeah, right. Lots of hats, but so I'll get on a Teams meeting essentially with hundreds and hundreds of participants, CDCR individuals, recruitment people from either their officers, sergeants, lieutenants, recruitment and headquarters, and we'll kind of give them the rundown of what to expect during the testing portion all the way through background to the academy, and then coming in and what a daily operations look like inside of an institution. So really cool stuff, and it's really we've had a lot of good feedback on it, and we have same thing. It's kind of like an open forum at the very end where you can ask a bunch of questions. No silly question.
And then lots of opportunities throughout the department, if you will, up and down the state, and lots of opportunities. Not just a CO into Hatchapee. It can be whatever you want it to be. Really, you can apply yourself, educate yourself, and promote yourself. And
absolutely, if your work location isn't working out, you can probably transfer somewhere else. There may be a timing aspect to it, but you can move around. If the classification that you work in isn't working out, you can promote or just go to a new classification altogether.
Sure.
There's every field imaginable within the department, and there's a lot of choices and opportunity for people to grow. And all of them come with retirement packages and some medical insurance and things
there
like
you
that.
go. We've talked earlier, switching gears back to programs and different things for the incarcerated individuals. Are there any programs that you'd maybe like to share with the listener that you're working on now, you're planning on, or you're actually implementing, or different things that are enhancing that, let's say, experience for the inmates?
Yeah, we actually have a group of pre-law students coming down to do makeshift sort of board parole hearings, and they get practice and reps for their future employment, and the individuals who are set up for board get practice kind of speaking on their case factors and everything else and what have you. So that's actually happening either next week or the week after that. So that's a pretty cool event that's happening.
Okay, and then I know CDC has firefighters.
Yep.
Some inmates. I don't know. Do you have any out at CCI?
We do. We have a fire department. It has room for 10 incarcerated men to be in the fire department. It's not quite full yet, but the new facility we're hoping will fill it up. As the facility started to get full, the fire department actually went out there and did a demonstration and talked to the incarcerated about how do you get into the fire department? What does this mean for your sentence? What kind of skills and training do you get while you're in the fire department, to try to generate some interest in folks to go out and be part of the firefighting team that also will come out to the community and assist in fires and emergency operations in the community as needed.
Yeah, that's a benefit.
Absolutely.
And the prisoners, this is a privilege to do. It's not something that they're assigned to. They have to earn their behavior and work towards getting into these programs.
Absolutely. They have to fit certain behavioral criteria, physical fitness criteria, medical criteria, everything that a firefighter would have to do.
Yeah, they
now on the street firefighters, they do have to fit a behavioral criteria, but generally if they apply, they fit.
Of course.
They came out and they did demonstration of dummy drags. I think there was a 180-pound dummy that they had to drag across, dragging hoses from the fire truck to a housing unit. And a lot of the incarcerated kind of got that experience and realized that, hey, maybe so I have some shortcomings and I need to work on this prior to getting in there. So it was kind of cool exposure for them.
But that's what life is all about, right? You need to test things and you need to go experience things so that you can take your own journey, right? It's a short time on this earth, right? And make the best use of it. That's for sure.
There's definitely a right way to do prison, and we're giving them a lot of the rehabilitative opportunities for them to go and take advantage of that. So when they come back out, they can make the most out of it.
And it's all about attitudes, right?
Sure.
Your attitude can overcome a bad day.
Sure,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's about grit.
right.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the ways that CCI works with the community. You talked about some of the programs that have been in place or you hope to put in place to help integrate the inmates back into, the community. But what other things do you have going on? I recall last year you guys had a vendor or health fair of sorts out there at the prison. What other sorts of opportunities do you have like that?
Well, we do have the health fair coming up, I believe, in October again, September, October. So that's pretty big. We've been actually talking to a few individuals, part of the community, about doing a bee program. So that's been in the works. We're kind of trying to figure out logistics for that.
Bees, you mean like honeybees?
Honeybees, yeah.
Honeybees.
Oh, yeah. They do it over, I believe it's North Curtin, correct? They
North
have
Curtin
those.
has a bee program.
They have a bee program, so we're trying to bring it to CCI. We're trying to bring some, and that's Chris Scotty, who does.
Chris.
Yeah, so I've been in contact with him, kind of trying to figure out some logistic stuff, and that's very sensitive on the time of the year when you can do that sort of thing. So being able to do that with him and him being such a big part of the community, I think would be a great thing.
I've always thought that would be cool. I was thinking about getting a beehive for my backyard, Maya.
You should. It would make your flowers grow like crazy.
I don't want to get stung, though. I don't. Yeah, so I'll just probably just buy honey at the store.
All right.
And we're also interested, in some, if we can get some community members that are interested in coming into the prison and doing some things with the population. We're certainly open to that, whether it be a softball game or an art project, or we have groups come in and do little business ventures and give the population projects. Say, bring us back your business venture, and we'll look at things like that. So there's a lot of things that we can kind of collaborate with the community on that may be of interest to the community members. Maybe they get to share their talents and skills with people who desperately need them. And the incarcerated population is always interested to learn new things, and some of them will put those things to use, inside and outside.
I bet they're incredibly hungry for that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting.
What a different organization from 20, 25 years ago.
Oh, for sure.
Sure.
Absolutely.
What an evolution.
Yeah. It's not prison anymore, in that sense of what, the society used to think of prison.
Their life's not over. There's an opportunity for them, should they choose to pursue and better themselves.
Sure.
They now have programs to, like you said, reintegrate back into society. But 25 years ago, it was a different beast.
Sure, and I think we rely heavily on our staff members that are constantly one-on-one with these guys and really speaking to them on a daily basis, getting to know them, and shout out to them because they strap a camera around their chest and conduct business, knowing that any sort of situation can be reviewed due to their, whether it's an incident, whether it's allegations or anything like that. They strap that camera to their chest and they conduct business. And I never had to wear a camera as an officer, and I give it to every single one of those people that have to do it and work those 8 to 16 hours to do it. So shout out to our staff. They're great and they're awesome. And we're doing a lot of cool stuff and a lot of cool stuff in the works for staff wellness as well. We just had an employee appreciation day where the Employees Association grilled up hamburgers for them. We got some chips, and we modified programs to allow each of those individuals to come in and speak with administration, speak with their managers, their captains on the facility, and kind of just get to know them a little bit more, humanizing the employees a little bit more and bringing that camaraderie together. So it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of tensions and pressure that staff face, and we talk a lot about what the programs are for the prisoners. Yeah. But staff, they've got to. It's security minded. They've got to keep themselves safe. They're keeping the other prisoners safe. There's a whole level of pressure that goes on just for staffing a facility like this.
A lot of pressure, a lot of things going on. We ask a lot of the staff. They're constantly moving these guys around, making sure they're where they're supposed to be. Some of them need more motivation than others, and the staff make all that happen. on a daily basis. They do it knowing people are watching them with their cameras. They communicate with difficult people to communicate with. They have some success stories. They have some struggles, but overall they do a phenomenal job. The department doesn't just do programs for the incarcerated. We're also focused on more staff camaraderie, as Thomas was talking about, with barbecues or car shows or
The blood drives.
blood drives,
yeah.
health fairs, anything we can get the staff involved in, feed them a little bit, talk. Food always brings folks together.
Oh, yeah.
Talk
Food.
to people, give them some opportunities to have some stress reducing things, because their jobs are very busy and very stressful.
For sure.
It's not what the movies portray so much as, especially the older ones where you're sitting in the office just waiting for something to happen. The staff members are every day ensuring that the incarcerated folks are out trying to get the rehabilitative programs they need and motivating them to get out and do so.
Yeah, you talk about the older ones, the older movies and things. This prison, at least the original prison, was a woman's prison to start with, and very old facility built in the 40s, I think, or
Built in the
32.
32.
Yeah,
Okay,
opened.
so
First opened in 32.
a long time ago, and so that facility still exists. Do you still house that? Are you still there in the offices, or how does that kind of fit into your puzzle these days?
So the original building, we do utilize the administration building, which way back then was not it was Chow Hall and a few other things, but now it's our administration building. The facility itself we use as a training venue for the agency, and we bring people into the city who stay here for a while and they train at CCI, but we don't have incarcerated men on that facility any longer. We'll see how that works out in the future. If we can grab a few guys, I'd love to reopen it, but right now it doesn't have anyone on it, the original old facility.
Right, so tell me if I'm wrong. So it was built in the 30s. It was a women's prison. After the 52 earthquake, the women were moved into tents, I believe, and housed for a while. And then after that, it was repurposed as a men's colony. Is that right? A men's
Correct.
facility?
As a
Yeah,
men's
okay.
facility
And it's been
reopened.
men's since then. Okay.
And
And
then
then it's different
opened-
facilities have been added over the years.
They opened a yard, level 2 yard in the mid-40s, level 4 yards in the mid-80s, and then the level 2 yard, now it's 2 yard now, in early 90s.
Right. And the facility is about 10 miles from the city of Tehachapi, out in the Cummings Valley area, kind of tucked away in a little canyon, if you will. Some beautiful property, that's for sure. And it's a nice place to work. I mean, the views are great, and it's a beautiful area of Tehachapi. So,
As far as prisons go, it's the best. It's the most
Is it?
scenic.
Yeah.
I've been the most.
I came from a desert prison before I started working at Tehachapi, and when I came to interview, you'd think that I'd never seen a tree before because I was, looking around like, wow.
Yeah.
So really pretty spot. You're having a bad day, you just walk out and look at the landscape, and your day's instantly better.
And
So.
wildlife,
Oh, yeah.
around and different things. So that's good. Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but what is the current population of CCI, and how has it changed over the last several years?
So currently we're just over 2,400. I think we're 2,420 or so inmates on our facilities. I think we have room for right around 2,800. There was a time when I started in Tehachapi where we had somewhere around 6,200.
You were housing people in gyms and things, right?
Oh,
I mean, it
yes,
was
we
just
had-
cots and,
We had them in gyms. We had them everywhere we could put beds. And the state has largely moved away from any kind of gym housing. We use those for their intended purpose these days, and all the housing has gone back to more traditional style housing. Before we opened this yard maybe a year ago or so, we were down to around 1,500 incarcerated in the institution, which was lower than I like. We're a little smaller. We were turning into a really small departmental prison, and I wanted to be a little more mainstream with our size, and that's kind of where we're at. 2,800. That's kind of middle of the road these days for an institution. So I like where we are with regard to our population. Helps with the census a little bit too.
nice balance. Yeah.
Greg, how does that play in, the prison population to the city, and just how does that impact us?
Well, it depends. The population of the city of Tehachapi is around 10,000, let's say, free individuals. And then, you add the 2,000 or 2,500, whatever it happens. It fluctuates, I know. But it just depends. When we annexed the prison many years ago, it was bottom line for tax revenue. But the state has changed that business model these days. So there really is no direct benefit any longer. The benefit is the indirect, right? The people that work there, the product that you purchase, that whole economic machine that is CCI, that is the benefit. So the benefit of the census and things has kind of gone away. The way that the state has changed, the DMV, licensing fees and, all the different things, really complicated. Maybe we should do a podcast on that someday.
Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe not. No one will listen to it. Like, we don't even care, right? Give us a break, dude. But so that's in a nutshell.
Yes, I mean,
from 10,000 feet. In a nutshell, from 10,000 feet. Does that make sense? I don't think it does.
You've got we have staff that live in the community. Some staff live outside, but they stop. They buy gas. They pick up lunch on their way in, or on their way home. They stop off. So there's an economic impact.
Yeah, they live here. They go to church here. Their kids go to school here.
Yeah.
They're an integral part of our community.
Yeah.
I bought a house here. So I've been working there for a year. I bought a house here. I'm a Tehachapi person now.
Great.
So we do have, like you were saying, the economic impact of it. Next month, we do have a training with a couple dozen individuals from different institutions coming down to train at our facility. So they'll need hotels and beer to drink and pizza to eat. So
I know, Warden Cates, that's been big for you the last several years. You've been trying to create a situation where CCI was a destination for training, and it sounds to me like the fruits of your labor are coming forth. And it's good for CDC, right? You need to have facilities where you can properly train individuals to care for and be safe, that whole business model.
Absolutely. And we're kind of central state, so the travel distance is pretty even for other institutions. So I would say we're one of the, if not the premier training location in the state. We're in the top 2 or 3.
Perfect. I'm not surprised. You do a great job, you and your team.
They do a great job. And, when institutions come to train here, we roll out the red carpet. We try to make the training as good as it can be, the experience as good as it can be, because we want them to come back. We want them to stay in the city. I know,
of course, yeah.
The restaurants and the hotels, they all like that. We like it. Mm-hmm. It works out good for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Gentlemen, anything else that we haven't touched on that you want to make sure that we talk about?
I think we had everything.
Well, the door's always open, right? I know it's been several years, Warden, since you joined us, and we haven't even invited you, so shame on us. But now that we have, this new studio, newish, I know we've been kind of upgrading facilities and equipment and different things, but maybe we should get you on every couple months to give us an update on what's going on.
For an incentive, I don't know.
What?
I see your guys' challenge
coins. Oh, nice.
There you go. From CCI. Do you need one, boss? You got one? You got a couple?
So many.
This is so many. Okay, so I'm looking at it. We have elk, we have wind turbines, we have our mountains, and then we have looks like your guard tower is
That's
the
it.
CCI on one side, and on the other side, what is this?
The other side is kind of small. It's basically a map of the remaining 3 facilities and kind of the little road that we have going up there.
And so you have the original facility. I see that now.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That was, this coin's entirely designed by the CCI staff.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So,
And it says rehabilitation.
Look at that.
absolutely.
Yep.
That's awesome. And Key, we have some on order.
Where am I going to put mine? I don't.
I think you need a bigger,
Well, no, he does.
bigger display case.
No, I say that, but you do have. We authorized you to.
We're in the process of making a new challenge coin for the city.
Yeah. So next time you come, right, we'll have one for him, Key.
Yeah, absolutely.
For them.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
We should have some 2025 ones coming up too. So, yeah, we're excited for that design. We're gonna put it back out to the institution staff to see if they can help us out with the design and kind of make it inclusive like that.
This is really cool.
very
Thank
good.
you very much. I
Yeah, of
collect
course.
these. I have one from General Higer, Edwards, and different things. So I like to.
It's our congratulations to your 500th episode.
Oh yeah. So this is. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
So.
Brian, the last time you were here, we were in a little tiny office.
Yes, we've upgraded.
Yeah, we've got a little bit, as you mentioned, 500 episodes beginning March 1st of 2020. The community messaging, talking with our community partners. It's just been, I think, really impactful. We see Greg and I constantly. And I'm sure, Maya, you even get the feedback from the community when you bump into people and they say, well, hey, I listened to this and I listened to that and I didn't know this. And it's really a tool to educate our community on what's going on here in Tehachapi. So we appreciate you guys coming in and and doing it on a more regular basis would be even better.
Yeah.
We appreciate the
And we
opportunity.
have another guest, Channel 23, is in the room videoing this, so we'll see if we make the news. I don't know if there's any worthy clips.
Oh, my cowlick's down.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
The more hair gel.
Yeah.
And even on that, I mean, Steve is Tehachapi's neighborhood reporter.
Yeah.
He picked up on the 500th episode and in here to kind of cover and see what we do, the behind the scenes look, if you will, of getting these podcasts done.
He snuck in. He did a good job. He was quiet as a mouse. So,
Well, wonderful, guys. Thanks so much for coming out and sharing everything that's happening out at CCI and how the community can get involved and, vice versa. Is there a great an ideal location that people can go to learn more about what all is happening out there? Website, social media, anything?
We, so our OPEC website, if you go to our cdcr.ca.gov website, we have a lot of the information that we're doing in-house at Tehachapi that gets posted up there, and it kind of cycles through different institutions. But lately, we've been on there a fair amount of time, the last couple of months. So
Getting a lot of press these days.
yeah,
Good.
good press.
You talked about looking for people with ideas for programs
Yes.
or volunteerism. How do they reach out?
Yeah, so my number is actually on the website if you guys want to reach out to me. 661-822-4402. My extension is 3021. So reach out to me if you guys have any sort of interest in setting up any programs in there and set up something where we can do some more community engagement. We're all open to that. We love that stuff.
and then Maya, of course, they can always call us, and we can get it to Warden Cates or Thomas right away.
Yeah, of course. Or you can email as well, media@tehachapicityhall.com, and we can get that forwarded off. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And again, to anybody listening, any sort of questions or comments, send it to that email, or you can DM us on social media at City of Tehachapi on all platforms. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope to catch you back here next time on Tehachapod.